Okay, we want to welcome everybody to the third annual community building panel discussion. It's a big honor to have the three panelists that are here that I'll introduce in 1 second. The community building panel discussion is a very, very important because a lot of times when you're in yeshiva, the focus is yeshiva and that's the way it should be. Talmud Torah Keneged Kulam. At the same time, we know that the Gemara, both at the end of Brachos and in Moed Katan, says that you have to know how to go from Yelchu Mechayel El Chayel V'yer Elokim B'Tzion. There are very few people in the room who, maybe an Eloi that will be a Rosh Hashiva, be an Avrech, might be, but 99%, 95%, 98%, correctly so, should be going Yelchu Mechayel El Chayel, going from the Beit Knesset to the Beit Midrash, being able to, whether you decide to go into Chinuch, decide to go into community lay leadership, to be a lawyer, to be a doctor, to know how to be and balance family life, balance lecharchila, what it means to be a Baal Bayit, to care about their kids' schooling. How do you deal with that when you want to be learning seriously? You want to be a good father, you want to be a good husband. That's a little bit while you're working at your consistency and your commitment to Talmud Torah. That's what these questions that we're going to ask from our three panelists tonight. That's the small introduction. So starting in the middle is Rav Rimon Shlita. It says here he's the Rosh Beit Midrash of Machon Lev. He's got many other titles, but right now we'll stay for that. He's also the Rav of Alon Shvut in Beit Knesset, in Alon Shvut Aleph. Manilot Toev. What? Darom, south. There it is. Okay. To the left is Rav Judah Dardick, my Chavrusa, also the Skan Rosh Yeshiva of Yeshivat Oraita, and formerly the Rav of Oakland, the Beit Knesset in Oakland for over 14 years, a wealth of experience of community involvement. And I would say Achron Chaviv, as again a Chavruta and a longtime friend of mine, Mr. Noam Eisenberg, who's a partner in Everest Search Partners, and he'll tell us a little bit what he does. Really a fine example of what it means to be a lecharchila Baal Bayis, which is what we're going to start right now. What I'm going to ask from the panelists is to quickly introduce themselves, maybe one short story about themselves within their communal life. And communal life could be in school, could be something within their personal challenges or achievements. Last year, we had a Baal Bayis here, Mr. Eli Hackhauser, who explained that one of his big achievements is that he started a Avotu Banim, or Horim Yiladim, because he himself wanted to find time to learn with his children. And therefore, that's what he started in his community, Ariel, just as an example. So we're going to start with Rav Rimon, small introduction, Bevakasha, and one challenge, Bekef.
טוב, ערב טוב. אני שמח להיות כאן איתכם. Don't worry. צריך קצת עברית בהתחלה. I'm a rabbi in Alon Shvut. Baruch Hashem, we have a big community, lots of children, and I'm also, as the Rav said before, in Machon Lev. Machon Lev, it's also another like community. It's like yeshiva in university, but it's another place, and he's a challenge. I think first of all, my goal is to help every Jewish person to dream to be the closest to Kadosh Baruch Hu, and to do it especially by learning. To try by learning to do it touching, deeply interesting, user-friendly, by learning to try to bring everyone to be closer to Kadosh Baruch Hu. And look, there are a lot of things that I can say about what challenge, goals. but if I'll say not, I'll say just not a specific idea, but Baruch Hashem, if I'll speak in my community, there is a lot of chesed. Baruch Hashem, there is also a lot of Torah learning. Baruch Hashem, people are religious, keeping and. But I think that today, I think especially youth, it's more challenging to understand that Torah is in the center. The Torah is not, today they say that is in the internet. You can, you know what is Google? You can write question, you can write answer, you can press enter and get a rabbi. Whatever you search, another 10 minutes, you'll get the answer. You'll get what you want to do. My challenge is that everyone will understand we are trying to keep halacha and not to keep what we want to keep. And then to find Rav Kunilemel, I don't know, doesn't matter, someone that you'll find in the internet that is in your opinion. This is the goal today, I think, to understand Kodesh Baruch Hu is in the center. We are trying to search what really, Ma Hashem Rotze, what is the halacha exactly, and not to try to find whatever we want to find, and to do in the end what we would like to do any case.
No, Noam Eisenberg. My father is Rabbi and Mr. Eisenberg. What? So my father's Rabbi, and he's Mr., but I'm not Mr. I'm Noam. Yes, long time. Yes, I work and co-founded a company called EverSearch Partners, which is an executive recruiting firm, otherwise in this easier vernacular, headhunting firm, helping Israeli, mostly technology companies, but not limited to technology companies, expand their management teams globally, both here and abroad. Sort of got into that accidentally because I've yet to meet the person who says when they're growing up, yes, I want to be a recruiter. Doesn't really roll off the tongue as many other things. But it's something that has, thank God, done wonders for me in terms of interpersonal and intrapersonal skills. You're dealing with people and, some of the most important parts of their life, their parnasa and their jobs, and how you help companies expand. That's me on the professional side. On the answer of Cutler's question, I guess, on the community side, I'll take a little bit from what Rav Rimon said, but I tell my kids all the time that, to me, one of the most important things is to be a good person. And there are countless ways that can play out. I mean, almost infinite ways that can play out. And how you do that is really a personal approach to doing well. But I believe it's incumbent upon all of us to do good by many people, not just by yourself and by your family. And of course, that's the most important thing, but really to help out through community and in every aspect of life. That really, I deal with, I was telling Rav Cutler before I walked in here, people ask me how work is, and you'll never hear a complaint from me on out of work, because one of the things by being a recruiter is I have many people who unfortunately might be out of a job at a various time, and it's a very troubling thing. And I get calls. Can you help? Can you do this? And it is one of the most important things, actually. One of the things I think Rav Rimon should be really counted for, along with everything else, is Rav Rimon was very active in job cutting at the time of the Hut, and it was one of the most unbelievable things. And I don't know if you get enough credit for it, but you deserve a tremendous amount more than if you had. but it's that sensitivity that comes with dealing with people. And in community life, as I said, it comes in multiple forms. But there is always something, there is a challenge, there is somebody who's sitting who's not doing well, and we should challenge ourselves to reach out to those people and help them in whatever way you can help.
Judah.
Somebody who's sitting who's not doing well, and we should challenge ourselves to reach out to those people.
So I'm Judah Dardick, as Cutler mentioned. So I was in Oakland, California for it's actually 13 years. You give me a little too much credit. Thank you. Excellent, Clarissa. I think that looking professionally, give you just a bit of a sense. The community that I went to. So we tend to think of communities in terms of how many families are, let's say, in the shul at any given point. There's a much bigger world out there. So you may or may not be familiar with the demographics, but Israel has 5-point-something million Jews who live here. America has 5-point-something million Jews live there. Within the larger American community, the largest concentration of Jews is in the New York area. Second is Los Angeles. Oakland, San Francisco, the Bay Area, which is not right outside of Los Angeles. It's a solid 6.5 hour drive. People say, "Oh, I have a friend in LA." I'm like, "That's great. You live in New York. I have a friend in Baltimore. Have you met him?" But the community up there has, depending on which demographer you ask, somewhere between 500 and 650,000 Jews. If I had to guess, there might be about 120 individuals who daven mincha on Shabbos. It's a highly assimilated, certainly not a bastion of orthodoxy as we know it, but it means that there are more Jews in the Bay Area than there are in Baltimore area, in Chicago, Miami, frankly, anywhere on the planet outside of the state of Israel, New York, and Los Angeles. There are more Jews there than in France, Canada, England, etc. The work of considering a community is much more than the shul itself. There's a much wider community, and for me, I thought the challenge is really very much the challenge, and part of the work was symbolized by something that happened actually very early in my rabbinate. I went to a one-time, unfortunately short-lived, it would have been great if it had continued, seminar at Bar Ilan over the summer, and they brought 11 rabbis from 11 different countries to learn about it's the Rappaport Center for Combating Assimilation. And in the course of a 10-day seminar, at one point they asked each of us, reflecting on our rabbinate, to talk about what metaphor we would use for what a community rav is. So I remember one person said a lifeguard, which is a very urgent picture. Someone else said air traffic control. The image that came to mind for me is that in many ways a community rav is a shadchan. A shadchan doesn't make two people get married. They get to know A, they get to know B, and say, you know what, the two of you would really enjoy each other. You should mingle. If it works, great. If it doesn't, I know. G's the one. Try that one. See what happens. I feel like many times my role was to be able to get to know Torah, Kodesh Baruch Hu, Judaism, and then get to know the person. So you know what? I think you would really enjoy this. And sometimes they'd say, wow, that was incredible. That really was life enriching for me, my family, etc. Sometimes they'd say, that really didn't work. Don't go anywhere. There's a lot more where that came from. Let's try something else. But to hopefully try to set up, you don't make them get married, but you give them the right introduction and then let them move from there. But it's part science and a lot of art.
Okay, so we're going to try to ask very pointed questions for each one of our panelists. We're going to start with Mr. Eisenberg, question number 7 on the bottom, which is, when should a community member involve the rabbi in family decisions and problems? We're going to start with that question, which is not an easy question. And if the rabbis want to say their take on this, it could be also important. Okay.
I don't know why you want to start with me and not the rabbis here, but it's actually quite funny. I was talking with somebody about something similar yesterday. Just happened to be. I'm not sure that I am the best person to answer this, but I think come from it from a different perspective. I think first and foremost is Aselech Harav. You need to. Rimon talked about Torah being the center. You need to have a Rav that you can speak to Certainly, you hope in every community, the community Rav can answer your typical halachic, Basar B'chalav, Shabbos questions. But you need to have someone who understands you to deal with questions hashkafically, and anything else that is troubling, that you have that relationship with them that you can talk. I genuinely believe that is of absolute paramount importance. Where I probably maybe diverge a little bit from that is, I am of the belief that not everything needs to be asked to the Rav. And I think you need to have experts that you can speak to about topics that maybe fall outside. And this is where maybe I get a little, as I said, divergent from others, but I'll take my profession. I had somebody come to me, and they were unemployed. And one of the things that they were looking for was for a Rav who can make an introduction the sort of a totality view of any specific situation.
So I'm smiling. No, you're right. It's a slightly different perspective, the other side of the table here. I think that I agree with you. I don't believe that it's helpful to assume that all questions are inherently halachic, or that all questions necessarily would be something that the Rav has full expertise in. What I think that people often miss, though, is that if you are in this role long enough, you see a tremendous amount. I was open to my students at the beginning of the year. So it's very difficult for me to imagine that you could tell me something that's going to shock me, because you get around the block and people have a lot of issues. Life is a very messy place. And so sometimes somebody would come. I think the core of the answer of when should you involve Rav is if you're not sure what to do, and certainly if there are halachic implications. If somehow the question is either neutral or the halachic implications are very clear already and obvious, then when you think the Rav's expertise would be helpful and you trust to have that conversation. If somebody comes and they might ask a question and don't realize, actually, I've had this conversation a number of times before, done some research, and you'd be surprised. There could be something useful here. By the same token, time somebody asked me something and I'd say, wow, the best thing I could do right now is literally or figuratively hold your hand, just be here with you. I don't have a clue. It's a really good question. I might be able to help you reframe it. I might be able to give a little bit of halachic or hashkafic insight, but I don't have it on this one. But I'm here with you, and we'll see where it goes.
Okay, I agree with everyone here. Meanwhile, first of all, there are things that are halachic, and not everyone asks. So there are things that you have to ask at least once, twice. Let's say what you call today tichnun mishpacha.
Family planning.
I don't like this word because I'm not planning. Kodesh Baruch Hu is planning, but there are things that you deal with something that is, of course, you have to go to ask the rabbi at least first time to see what's going. They give you rules, they give you things, and a lot of people are doing decisions that they are halachic decisions without asking a rabbi. So first of all, it's important to go to the rabbi with things that are real halachic. Of course, if things in Taharat HaMishpacha, in Nida, of course, those are there are things that maybe are not halachic, but because you have a rabbi, you can inspire yourself, you can get other things that maybe you won't get outside. Half a year ago, I did a few times, not once, a lot, but a woman came to me and told me that she wants to get divorced. And sometimes, when you know the story, you say, okay, I'll help you. But I know this woman, I know her husband, I know the children that are, wow, amazing. I started speaking with them, with her, and I saw that there is no real good reason to get divorced. And I started giving her tools. And then I told her to go with her husband to this person. Doesn't matter everything. But a few weeks ago, she came to my office and she said, we are married a lot of years, doesn't matter how much. She said, it's unbelievable, you changed our marriage. I can't understand how half a year ago I wanted to get divorced. And they have ought work, but it's not an halachical question. But if you have a rabbi, sometimes you can do things that you can't do when you're out. Not always you have someone that you can go and halachical that everyone can try, maybe by himself, to solve. Sometimes he can go to the rabbi, but the rabbi should know when to answer and when not to answer, but when to give you the tools to decide by yourself. Came to me a few years ago is, wow, real balagan. Where should they be in Leila Seder? In the father side or in the mother side? Okay. It's not a logical question, right?
It could be.
Could
Depending on
be,
what happens.
maybe. In the beginning, I thought, okay, I'll tell them, go home, decide it by yourself. But then I said, okay, tell me, why do you think it should be in your parents? Explain. And she started saying, no, I said, okay, but let's understand him. Okay, after half an hour, we understood the husband. Then I told her, okay, now explain your side. She started, and the husband said, no, so wait, let's understand. We understood her side. We just understood both sides. And I told him, okay, now go home. And then afterwards, the husband came to me and said, you solved our problem. We don't need you anymore. I just helped them to understand each other because each one is in. Sometimes a rabbi doesn't need to give an answer, but it's to help. And sometimes the help is just to open the mind and to understand what are the reasons to this side, to that side.
Want to talk a little bit about being a balabayas and to combine two questions. Many young people come out of Shana Aleph and Shana Bet and they look around and they're disenchanted. They look around the Balei Batim and they say they're looking for a matzah minyan. And where is their religious commitment? I was hoping that from each angle, you can tell us about what characteristics of a balabayit are not just ideal, but are practical as they're learning. They're 18, 19. They want to learn, despite that the world might be an ugly, messy place, how to have the tools and skills while they're learning now to Ezo Chacham Ruat Hanolad, to be that ideal balabayas. So if you could try to address that question, it would be greatly appreciated. I think we're starting with Rabbi Dardick.
Very good question. Interesting twist with what would you do now? So I'll start from the ideal balabas. We'll take it very practical in just a moment. To me, the ideal balabas is someone who, number one, understands that it's not about them. It's about the greater picture of the community. Number two, has a really good sense of both what they're good at and what they enjoy. One of the great downfalls of volunteerism in communities, and most of this is volunteer work from a Balabacha side, is somebody who either gets put in a position that they're really not good for. They're an active person, say, I want to help. But if they don't know what they would actually have the skills to do, or the temperament to do, or the Rav doesn't know that, you can end up with somebody, and well-meaning people can do a lot of damage in just the wrong role. Or alternatively, somebody who's doing it, and then after years you see that your Baal Bayit is totally burned out because they're just not enjoying it anymore. So being able to say, these are things that I'm good at, this is what I enjoy, this would be a good place to plug me in, and to know that about yourself, be able to say, thank you for the offer, I think I would do that once, but really this is where I'd be better placed. You're going to end up with people in the right seat who can do a lot. And I'd say, even bigger issue is when people think it's about them. Because I want that position because that's a very prominent position. The prominent positions are usually not a lot of fun. There's a lot of work to be done. But then somebody makes it about them when really it's about the community. That can be very damaging. So what can you do now? So same practical questions. If you look around at what sorts of roles do you enjoy? What are your skills? What do communities need? What do you do? What would you do in your own time? What would you think was fun to do in a community? Are you a person? Are you organized? Do you have a passion for chesed? Are you interested in getting other people to do things? Are you a person who works well with a committee? Do you do well on your own? What are you passionate about? And where could you plug yourself in? Because no one person, including the rabbi, is going to run what happens. It's a big puzzle. But if you can find the place where you're the piece, so you'll be better off.
אתה רוצה לדעת איך אדם שיוצא מכאן צריך להכין את עצמו כדי להיות בחוץ בעולם האוניברסיטה של העסקים בתור בן תורה? זאת השאלה?
חלק.
מה חלק? מה עוד? משפחה? חסד?
מנהיג בקהילה.
אז זה שתי שאלות אחרות.
אחרות גם.
אוקיי. אבל התכוונת גם לזה או לא?
התכוונתי להיות עם הבעל הבית, הרבה מהחבר'ה רואים שהבעל הבית ככה, למרח. השאלה, שעכשיו הם פה, ורוצים להכשיר את עצמם, מה התכונות של הבעל הבית?
שלהם, לא בתור רבנים. מה הם יעשו בתור בעלי בתים?
כן, בדיוק.
אוקיי. אוקיי. Okay, no, I want to answer because there are two different questions here, so I'll answer this one. Look, it's very difficult. Now you're in yeshiva all day and night. You are waking up, going to sleep with Torah. You can't sometimes fall asleep because you have kushia of Tosfot or something. I don't know. You are all the time in Torah. This is what bothers you. This is what you are dreaming all the time. You are going out. You'll be in university. You'll be in business. And then maybe your dreams will be different. Maybe you'll dream on, I don't know what. Whatever you'll be dreaming in university afterwards, and all day you are busy. Sometimes here, you have a lot of plans, of course, Torah, and you go out and you do nothing. The Tosfot in Brachot of Yud Aleph ask, we say Birkot Torah in the morning. Then we go to our business. Then we go back and we learn without saying Birkot Torah again. And Tosfot asks, how can it be? It's hefsek. Tosfot say, Shani Torah delo miyayesh datei minei. When someone is going to his business, he works, but he's waiting for the time that he can come back and sit and learn. And business is not hefsek. And Tosfot here says something very important. Not always it's important how much Torah you learn. What is more important is what is the main thing in your life. If the main thing is Torah, so also if you are now in business, it's not hefsek. And secondly, not that it's not hefsek, maybe Torah is a part, maybe your business can be a part of Torah. It's a part because it's not an hefsek. It's not an hefsek. You turn the business, the learning university, to be a part of Ben Torah, of Torah life. And I think that the main thing, you are going out to understand all the time Torah is the center of your life. Second thing, if you want to succeed, you have to take something that you'll have chiyuv to learn every day. Once, 30 years ago, I didn't think like this, but today, I'm certain that the best thing is Daf Yomi. I see Balevatim in my community. A lot of people are in high tech, indeed. When someone has Daf Yomi, every day he learns. Yes, mechuyavut, every day. Sometimes I'm ready to give you a hater, a special. I hope it's okay. If you don't manage to finish everything, you can do it בשקט, בחזרת השץ. Okay, it's a big hater. Because you'll be busy at night. You learn every day. I mean, you come home, in the morning, at night, you will learn, but maybe you finish something, few lines. To learn something that gives you mechuyavut, commitment every day. And like Daf Yomi, I think Daf Yomi is the best. And someone asked me, he's also a balevat, and he says, look, you are doing a lot of chesed with Job Katif. How do I do it? I told him, sometimes people are searching for very big things. It's important. But you are not free. You are learning. You are in your business. If you are ish chesed, you are trying all the time to think how to help people. And maybe it will be to come home and to help your parents with small things, to help with the dishes, to help your friend with his homework, or to help your friend that you see that he's sad that he will be smiling. Ish chesed all the time thinks on chesed also in small things. And when you do it in small, then you'll find also a big thing to do afterwards. And I'll just end. I have a friend, now he's not in Alon Shvut, but 20 years ago he was in Alon Shvut. He was going in Jerusalem somewhere, and he met Rav Meller. Rav Meller was a rabbi in Nativ Meir, in Yeshiva, Nativ Meir High School. He is a rabbi that all Shas, all Ktsot, he knows everything. He met him in the street and he says, איפה אתה אוחז? You want to say it in English? איפה אתה אוחז?
Where are you holding?
Where are you holding? אבל אוחז, in Hebrew, he says, אני גר באלון שבות. האם in אלון שבות? לא, איפה אתה אוחז? באיזה דף אתה בגמרא? איפה אתה? He didn't know what to tell him. The day afterwards, he started learning Daf Yomi. Next time Rav Meller asked him, he has what to say. אני אוחז. Every Yehudi, every Jewish person has sugya, has something that he's in. He's something now. Doesn't matter if it every day, if it's Daf Yomi, if it's something else. And you should try to make your schedule like this and think before, when you are going to university, what are you doing? The Torah will be half an hour, but something every day that you will be ochez, besugya, that this will be something that will go with you all day.
You need to be kovei itim. You need to find a time. I couldn't agree more. You need to find a time where you're learning Torah every day. It is very easy, unfortunately, especially in the world we live today, where time flies by. You can, whether it's work related or sports related or YouTube related, it's irrelevant. Time flies very quickly. And it's very easy for a day to go and woof, where'd that happen? And now it's 11 o'clock at night and what happened? So you need to be kovei itim. Had a conversation with somebody 6 months ago, and I think this is, consider myself old, but I do think it's a little bit of a generational thing. Makes me crazy that I guess I'm a generation now above, but this, I want to have it all. I never understood it when I was younger. I certainly don't understand it now. And I think going to your disenchantment, there's, I don't know what all is. And if someone could ever define what all is, I'd be happy to know what all is. I think there is this perception that the grass is always greener on somebody else's lawn, and therefore, oh, I'm not doing enough. I'm not this. I'm not that. I'm only. You need to live your life the way you're supposed to live your life. And Kovei Itim Batorah is the center of what grounds you. Rav Rimon talked about Daf Yomi. For me, as someone who's in high tech and like, what I've come to realize is you need to learn something that's going to grip you. So if it's Daf Yomi, great. If it's not Daf Yomi, and I understand why Rav Rimon says Daf Yomi, because I think it is fantastic. But if it's something else, you need to get something that's going to grip you, because without that, you're going to go on to something else, you'll pick something else up, and then eventually you're going to stop picking something up. And when you stop picking something up, that's when it's a big problem. I was telling Rav Cutler when we just, right before we started, that a shir just started with in my community with Reb Chaim Navon in Baba Kama in Nezikin. I haven't been this excited since I left yeshiva almost, and it's great because it's got me going on the day and moved off of other things, and now I'm focused on Baba Kama, and it's been that. But that does it for me. That doesn't do it for somebody else. You really need to find something that grips you, and you need to make the time so that it's there. The disenchantment, I think, really comes, and people looking, oh, this is lax and a matzah minion. There are times in life where it's easier, and there are times in life when it's harder to do various things. And sometimes you have to go to the matzah minyan. No one loves it, but sometimes you have to, and sometimes you have the ability to take your time in the morning. But you have to keep that time. And that, to me, would basically, I guess, a little bit limit the disenchantment, at least from my perspective.
We talked about the balabayit. Maybe we could talk about your challenges. If you can tell us some of your personal challenges that you've had, you can give a couple of concrete examples that would be relevant to them. We're going to start with Rav Judah. I think we started with you. Rav Rimon, we're going to start, and there was a special bakasha since Rav Rimon recently, it was worldwide, a certain challenge within his community. I asked permission beforehand to talk about this, dealing with Simchas Torah, and very, very loaded discussion of within, I'm sure Rav Rimon could tell us the details of what he wants to share and lessons and the challenges. And then each panelist, b'vakasha. After this question, we're going to have time for if you guys want to ask one question or two.
Okay. So, Rabbi Kotler means that I speak about rikudim, dancing with Sefer Torah lenashim. You know what is nashim? Women. Okay. I believe that nashim, women that are learning, is something very important. I believe that today, in our generation, that is more and more Torah that women are learning is a part of redemption time. אם מלאה הארץ דעה את השם, כמים לים מכסים, that everyone is learning. Torah is everyone, not once it was also not all men, all people and women. It's something very special. Yemot HaMashiach, the one who was that fought like this was Rabbi Milubavitch. That this is, women who learn Torah, it's important. It's a part of Mashiach time. Especially today, women are learning in university, they are learning high standard of limudei chol. So of course, they should learn also Torah in high standard. I think it's wonderful. And there are a lot of things in Torah learning that I did in my community for women. They can learn seriously. A lot of Torah in my community is learned by women. I think that also we have to try to give women all what we can do that they'll be a part, that they'll come to shul. I'll give you an example. In my community, a few years ago, they decided that it's a shame for the electricity to make a minyan in the big shul every day. Shabbat. We have 4 minyanim shachris every day. So I said, okay, we'll do it in other rooms. Now, we have 2 batei midrash. One of them has mechitza. The other one hasn't got. And it's a problem to do that, doesn't it? It's not so big and it's a problem. And I said, look, we can't do all the minyanim here and there, because then half of the minyanim, women can't go. People came to me and said, what does it matter? They have other minyanim. And it's money, kaspei tzibur, and I have to say people who came, a lot of people, men, that are feminists, not just, I said, I don't agree. So all minyanim, just one is there, all other minyanim are in places that there is Ezrat Nashim, that women can be a part. If you come to Alon Shvut, you'll see 20 past 1:20, there are 2 mincha minyan every day that start together in the same time. One Bet Midrash and the other one. Why? Because there is a Bet Midrash that I told you before that it's a problem to make their mechitza. And 7 years ago, 8 years ago, I opened a koilel of mevugarim, old people between 50 and 100. Those are the ages. And Baruch Hashem, it's full every day from all Gush Etzion, Kiryat Arba, even Jerusalem. People are coming and learning and there is Minche, 1:20. But the problem is that some of them, to move them to another room, wow, it's to take the Philippine, Philippine, you say? Filipino, it's a problem. And there's no mechitza there. So I said, I'm going to do another minyan. That women that want to daven can daven there. So they told me, how many women are coming to minyan? It doesn't matter. If one woman wants to come, I wanted to have So for one hand, we have to try to do everything. And to try that women will come to minyan as much as they can, especially on Shabbat, of course, and Torah. But from the other hand, there are things that are a problem, halachically, or maybe from other reasons that also are part of halacha. I asked, for the last 30 years, I had the privilege every day almost to speak with Mori Rabbi Rav Lichtenstein. I can say what he said on a lot of things, a lot. I learned with him, and every time I speak, I can say things in his name a few times. And I asked him, Rabbi, what do you say? What is the rule for women? He said, Kach mekublani mimoiri v'Rabbi Arav Soloveitchik. Everything that is out of shul, give me women as much as you can. More Torah, more learning, Gemara. In shul, Bet Knesset, there is Masoret. We don't change Masoret of Bet Knesset. And of course, they're coming to daven like all the years. But you don't change Masoret of Bet Knesset. And I think that this is one of the very important things that we have to understand. The difference between Orthodox and conservative and Reform is not just to see that everything is halachic. It's also the Mesorah, the Masoret. Orthodox is the Orthodox, you say? It's changed. You can see big difference between 100 years ago and today. 100 years ago, if women would learn like today, it would be out. But Orthodox does not jump. Le'at, le'at. Le'at, le'at. There are things, if you jump, maybe you jumped in the wrong direction. And also, if you jumped in the right direction, maybe your jumping will shake everything, and something else will be out of the Torah and halacha. I mean, what is the problem that Isha would get Agbat Torah? Hagbe. Okay, that's strong women, right? No problem. We understand, we won't do it. Today we understand. I don't know if everyone understands. And there are things that are Masora. You change it, you can change. And it's not just there are also other things. I think maybe what happened this year, maybe it's in the end would be the best that everyone can be in shalom together. But it's a problem, and this is just one example. I have other examples, but when something like this happened, the main thing is for a rabbi, don't be in war. You are not fighting against anyone. You have to be connected to everyone, and you have to respect everyone. Also, someone that says the opposite. You can say, oh, she is feminist. No. She wants really to be close to Kodesh Baruch Hu. If she's like this, maybe sometimes, but if it's true, okay, you can appreciate her. You can be, and in the bottom line, not always you can do what she wants. But very easily we can come to a place that we are taking people that are not in our idea and said, oh, they have this agenda and this. You don't need to get to it. You can respect them. You can understand them. You can understand the feelings, and maybe you have other solutions because you respected them and not just said, oh, they have negative interests in this thing.
Challenge.
Well, I don't envy any communal Rav. I mean, let's be honest, it's probably the worst job out there. I don't know how to say it. You're looking out on, if we take a random thing of 100 families, at any given moment, 50% probably disagree, and that's probably being kind, and 50% maybe agree, but have comments on that 50% of what that they agree on. There's no winning if you're a communal route. So I tip my hat tremendously to anybody who is brave enough to take that on as their profession. I think I think Rev. Rimon's last comment of it's not about war. It's not about arguing. It's about, and Rabbi Dardick spoke about it also earlier, it's about maybe guiding different community members to get to an ultimate resolution. I can tell you, I'm sure I've been wrong in the past. I'll definitely be wrong in the future with various things, maybe in interactions with communal Ravs. But I hope it's always with a good intention, nothing more, that it comes through. And I think if you're not the Rav of the community and you're on the other side, you cannot understand the complexity of what's going on their side. And you always have to keep that in mind, no matter what's going on, that you are a community of 100 families, you are but one. And therefore, there's 99 other things that need to be weighted just as much and almost as equal to whatever you're going to bring to the table. But as I said,
Can you talk about a little bit just within, as a community balabas, a challenge that you've had, school, community, that be just within.
That's what you said now was very important.
If you care about things in your life, then hopefully you are a passionate person, you are going to get involved. If important things in your life, which will be your community, the school where, God willing, your children will go, and other aspects of community, if you are someone with an opinion or things mean something to you, you're going to get involved whether you realize it or not, because your opinion immediately, if you're going to voice your opinion, immediately makes you involved. So with that, there will be challenges in schools. You are going to disagree with your kids' teachers. I can promise you that. You are going to disagree with with the principal of the school. I can promise you that. You might be right. They might be right. And more often than not, it happens that both sides have times that are right. You need to, how you approach it though, is the key differentiator, I would say, between, and Rabbi Rimon can speak about this, but how the principal or the Rav of the community will engage with you. If you are antagonistic, if you are righteous or self-righteous, why would they want to? And they do, which is remarkable. Think about how many people are antagonistic and self-righteous, and principals and shul rabbanim still deal with them completely above board. If I told you that someone came after you, nothing related to a community thing, and was condescending, antagonistic, more often than not, I would say you would either walk away, because why do you want to deal with those people? Or, unfortunately, we are human and we are fallible. You'll get into it with them. Rabbanim in school, principals, don't have that luxury. And it is something that you, if you're not going to be on that side of the table, need to understand when you're coming with a question, a comment, an idea. I don't know why they want to do Svardim if they're already doing Shema Tefillah, but that's a different thing. But you need to understand that you're coming from a different side. Engage, be passionate, be opinionated. I have gotten in trouble, so I promised my wife I wouldn't say certain things, but I've gotten myself in trouble for numerous times for my opinions. More often than not, I hope that my opinions come through as someone who wants to be engaged. But be engaged in a menschlichkeit way. Be engaged in the way that you would want to get spoken to as well, the way you would want to be engaged. Don't go after people because you feel you're right. There are two sides to every story. I tell my kids this all the time. I actually had a conversation earlier today with somebody who, on one specific political topic, we are on polar opposite sides. I mean, it's probably going on 17 years now. Neither one of us has budged from our position. And yet we engage in the conversation as two adults who have different views and can respect the others. That is not a luxury that Rabbanim and principals have. They have to engage you no matter how wrong from an engagement point of view someone is on the other side. So I really encourage everyone to be passionate and opinionated. Rav Cutler can tell you I am a very opinionated person, but there you go. But I hope, and I try, that the opinions come out in a proper, engaged, passionate side, rather than something that Rabbanim have to deal with, but really shouldn't have to.
So different. I'm actually going to disagree with you, Noam. For my opinion, 100% on the last one, which is for the right person with the right shidduch of a community. This is the best job in the world. No question about it. I have a lot of colleagues. We would get together at conferences. We get to talk, and it never really resonated for me. Getting together with a bunch of chaverim and everyone sitting around kvetching about Balabatim or Stefan Schulich. If you don't want to be doing what you're doing, don't do it. Find something that you do want to do. There are plenty of very challenged, for sure, but very, very happy Rabbanim. It is exhausting, yes, challenging. The question of give challenges, I'm like, wow, where do I start? Tons of challenges. And it's incredible because if you have a life in which, Isaiah Berlin has a very important essay, The Fox and the Hedgehog. It builds off of a simple parable that a fox is being hunted. And it has many tricks. It runs around the bushes and under the bushes and runs up the tree and jumps here and jumps there and eventually gets away. The hedgehog, he says, only knows one thing, which is how to roll into a ball, a spiky ball. It knows one big idea. There are people in this world who are foxes, who like to do a little bit of a lot of things. There are people who are hedgehogs, who are experts, deep dive into something that is their unbelievable expertise. The Rabbanus requires a degree of, if you will, foxiness. You have to be able to do a bit of this, a bit of that. You need to know what you're doing. And then there are the most amazing Rabbanim who have the hedgehog ability to go deep on many, many different things. For the rest of us mere mortals, so you have to be involved in many things. the idea that you can spend a life and your whole day, you don't know what's on your calendar when you get up that day. You know what's on your calendar. You don't know what else is going to happen. Things are thrown your way to try to think quickly and deal with them the best you can. And it's all parts of life and it's all meaningful. That's an incredible day. Like the entire day, look back and say, wow, what a day. Like I feel like I accomplished more things that were meaningful in this day than a lot of people get in 6 months when they're looking around. It's amazing. And it comes with unbelievable challenges. So I'll give a few quick just sort of highlights and examples. So one thing that I find particularly hard is when people's expectations of a Rav are beyond what is actually addressable or easy. Tragedy. So a specific example, the worst night of my life was having to go to a really incredible woman. She and her husband had been founders of the community, elderly woman, Holocaust survivors. They had 2 children. They had lost a daughter many years ago, an adult daughter, before I had arrived. And she had a son. And the son later in life, got married and over the moon. And just a few years into marriage, one night, her son had a sudden heart attack at dinner. Is right there in front of his wife. And wife called me, and now I need to go and tell this mother that she has no children or no living children left. How do I go there? How do I show up at her house at 11:30 at night? And when she looks at me and says, Rabbi, why? What's going to happen now? Why did Hashem do this? I can't answer that. There's nothing. Rabbi, make it better. Can't answer that. So what can you do? So I can stay there with her for hours and hours. We can sit there and cry together. We can talk about difficulties in time, not on the moment, but Soloveitchik had a beautiful equation that suffering equals pain minus meaning. That if there's meaning, it's pain. In the absence of meaning, it's suffering. Could we in time talk and try to find some greater meaning? Her son's life, what happened, her life, the whole narrative, and try to transform some of that suffering into pain. Pain is much more manageable. It's hard. So yeah, but it's an incredible challenge. How do you go there? Very different nature. Ignorance. I think the biggest problem we have as a Jewish people is ignorance. There are millions and millions of Jews, including ourselves, who just don't know enough about what Torah has to say, the insights, the depth, what it means, why it's important, all sorts of things. We just don't know. And there's mass ignorance, and with the ignorance comes apathy. So one concrete example, so I struggled. I had classes almost every night of the week, daytime classes. Could we get people at this time, get people at that time, talk to people? You don't come to any classes. Are you learning? What could I do? Could I set you up the chavrusa? Could I this? So hard. So trying to figure out, try this program, try that program, this, that. We came up with something for Shabbos. We said, well, the most people are there Shabbos morning. Okay, they're already there. So we've gotten them out of their houses and they're present. So what would happen if maybe every other week, we called it Shabbat University. What if every other week we had after shul, we had a more luxurious kiddush, something really more akin to lunch, so people are not so hungry, and then gave them a choice of classes, and it's right there in front of them. And then you know what? After that class, we could have an early mincha, and so now they've knocked off mincha, and Shabbos mincha just went from like, could we get 10, 12, 15? I thought maybe we'll get 30. Looking up, you see 70, 75 people, men and women, have stayed for mincha. They've stayed for shiurim. They're bringing their friends. We got childcare. It was a whole system.